with Ours Garage. In this video, I'll be working on the Team Associated B6.4 bag 10. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing for bag 10, step 1, is going to be to install the motor. So I'll be installing this Hobawing Just Stock 21.5 motor. This is the spec motor of choice for our local club. So I'll be installing this since I'll be running in the spec class one last time for our series race, and then I'll be switching over to 17.5. So we need two M3 by 8mm washers, and then we need two M3 by 8 button head cap screws. So the way I had the motor installed last time was with the tabs facing up or slightly rotated forward. It just kind of depends on where the holes line up. And I will recommend installing these motor screws, the M3 by 8 button head cap screws, with some blue Loctite, just to make sure nothing loosens up. Okay, so for this particular motor, I had to install it with the tabs facing up. So if I rotate it forward anymore, the socket for the sensor wire will be facing downward. It'll be hard to access, so I think this orientation will work out just fine. And then before tightening down the motor screws, make sure you install your pinion and make sure that you can set your mesh properly. So I got my mesh set. I'm setting my mesh kind of by feel. It's kind of, you want to set the mesh and you want to make sure that the spur gear or pinion can rock back and forth just a little bit before contacting. So you can kind of hear that slop or hear that the mesh, and that's kind of how I like to set it. All right, next we can install either the fan mount or the plug. For 21.5, we've noticed that the fan isn't necessary, so I'm going to install the number 4 option, which is going to be this one on the parts tree. This is something different compared to the B6.3 because they didn't give you all these options. They only gave you, I think, number 3 and number 4 as an option. So this will be nice to see the different fan mounts. The number 1 is for the laydown transmission or gearbox, which we have installed. So probably eventually put that one on when I move to 17.5, but for 21.5, for my local club racing, I am just going to run the plug. So we're gonna go ahead and install this. So the number is going to be read from the outside of the car. If you notice, the insert, the way that it's going to go in is not flat. So you want to make sure you install it correctly so it sits correctly in that spot. And we're going to install it with a M3 by 8 flathead cap screw. And it's going to install in this hole right here. Now we can move on to bag 10 step 3, which is going to be installing the ESC and receiver. Alright, so I decided to use my XR10 just stock ESC. I was planning to use my stock spec ESC, but the wires are cut a little bit too short and I don't feel like resoldering the wires onto the ESC. So this should be fine for this particular motor. So we can go ahead and solder it on our motor wires. That's acceptable. So we can go ahead and put some double-sided tape onto the ESC, the switch, and our receiver, and go ahead and install that. And what I'm going to do first is wipe everything down with some alcohol and make sure that there's no dirt or grease or something like that, preventing double-sided tape from sticking. Next, I'm going to go ahead and install my receiver. So my wires are already somewhat to length, but you'll just have to install your bullets or whatever connector you're going to be using. But just double checking, I'm going to mount my battery all the way forward and my leads will reach. Just going to go ahead and install my 5mm bullets. One thing I like to do with the sensor wire is install some clear packaging tape over it to keep it nice and flush with the chassis. Alright, so the electronics are installed. We can go ahead and install our battery mounting system, which is going to be on this parts tree here. We're going to need the battery strap along with 2 battery strap nuts, which are going to be these 2 pieces, and then we're going to need the battery strap shoulder screws, which are these 2 pieces, along with 2 3x8 washers and 2 M3x6 button head cap screws. So let's get this off the parts tree and ready to assemble. Alright, so the best way to do this is to start assembling the battery strap. So take the washer, install the M3x6 screw in it, and then we're going to insert the battery strap nut into the channel, just like so. And then we're going to install the screw and washer into that nut. And you want to leave this loose. So I'm leaving it loose so I can adjust it front to back. We're going to go ahead and do the other side. Okay, so now what you can do is place the battery strap onto your battery, and then you can adjust the battery strap nut to be as tight or as loose as you'd like, and go ahead and tighten down. That way it'll keep it nice and secure. So with that ready, we can go ahead and install the battery strap shoulder screw. So I'm going to install with the long threaded piece into the chassis, and so what you should do is install the battery the way that you're going to, and then install this the battery shoulder strap screw into place. And you want to install this screw so the top of the nut is flush with your battery pack. Go ahead and do the other side. I'm just going to use a normal screw, an M3 screw, to get some of the threads started in the plastic to help install this battery shoulder strap screw. And again, you want to install it so that way the top of that nut is flush with your battery pack. So now you can mount your battery strap onto your battery, and the stock setting is the 5th hole. So basically the battery pushed all the way forward. That's how I like to run mine anyway. And then we can install our thumb screws. This is a pain to install every time, and in my opinion requires the use of a wrench, otherwise they can loosen up. So bag 10 step 5 is the optional chassis brace configuration. Basically you remove the waterfall brace and you have a turnbuckle from this point to the center point here of the battery strap that allows for more chassis flex. But that's something that I don't run, I haven't tried. Next, we can install our front wing, rear wing, and body. So the front wing is installed using 2 M3x4 button head cap screws. So you're going to have to cut out your wing just like so, and then use your body reamer to open up the holes in order to install the screws. The front wing is optional. I see some people not running it, some people do run it. If you feel like you have too much front grip, you can take off the front wing and see if that helps out. I've always ran it. I don't seem to want to take it off. I seem to like the characteristics of how the car drives. So just go ahead and place your wing on the wing mount and install the 2 M3x4 button head cap screws, and make sure you don't over tighten this since the threads aren't long and you are going into plastic. Now we can install the rear wing. So in order to install the rear wing, 1, you have to have it cut out, and 2, the mounting hardware is actually in bag 6. So I've got my bag 6, and the wing buttons and the wing mount are on the parts tree that was in that bag. So we can go ahead and get those out, get those off the parts tree. So in order to mount the wing, we are going to install the wing mount in the kit configuration, which is going to be in this direction here. You can see that it's thicker on this back portion than it is on the front. And we want this boss here facing down, just like so. Next we have our wing, and we need to take the body reamer and ream out the holes, or create the holes for the screws to go through. And I cut mine to the first line, not all the way down, since I'm running a slower car. This will give you more rear grip. If you need less rear grip, cut down to the second line. So now we can grab two M3x10 flathead cap screws, install them in the wing buttons like so, and then we can screw these in to the wing mount. Now we can mount our body with the hook and loop tape, or Velcro. So that Velcro is going to be in the bag that the manual came in. So there we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab my wheels and tires as well. Here's my body, freshly painted. Man, that looks beautiful. So now we can go ahead and install the hook and loop tape. I'm just trying to get an idea of where I want to mount it. I'll probably mount one piece up front, and then maybe another piece kind of in the center over here, and then call it good. I think if you put too much tape, it just makes it hard to get the body on and off. And I personally like to install what I call the fuzzy side onto the chassis, and the other side onto the body itself. So what I like to do is just mount or put the hook and loop tape together like this, and then cut my strips. I do maybe like an inch or so long strip, and find that to be sufficient and holding the body on. So I'm just going to cut out 4 pieces. And then I'm going to go ahead and mount the body side. So I'm just going to mount the fronts for now. I'm going to wipe down the sides of the chassis with some rubbing alcohol. So now I'm going to go ahead and peel off the fuzzy side backing. And now I'm going to go ahead and install just the front side. Making sure the body's not hanging too low, and the front is now installed. You can go ahead and install the rear side. So now I'm going to do the same thing. Make sure the body's not too low. And that seems to be exactly where I want it. I think just 2 pieces on each side is more than enough to keep the body in place. If you find that the body's rattling or making some noises, then go ahead and add some more. But I think this should be sufficient, and it actually holds on pretty well. So, and if for some reason it's coming off the body or or off the chassis, just add a little bit of CA glue behind the Velcro, and that should hold it into place. All right, next we can go ahead and install our wheels and tires. Since they're not included in the kit, I've got an old set of swaggers in the front and twin pins in the rear. Those are the spec tires we run in our club. So you can go ahead and install those with the M4 low profile serrated nuts. So that's it for the build. I'm excited. Now I just got to set up my buggy, the ride height, the toe camber that I like, and set up my endpoints, program my ESC and whatnot, install my chassis or carpet protector, and then I'm ready to go race. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video series. This is it for the build. I'll do a video as a build review, compiling all my notes to let you know what issues or tips that I found were helpful during the build process. And then I'll do some more videos on setting up the car, because I can definitely tell the ride height isn't where it should be for where I run. So I'll do some videos on setup and things like that. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you did. Let me know down in the comments below if you had any issues. I'll do my best to help you out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.